They glorify that feeling in their eyes. They think it's cool, but they'll never realize what a thin disguise. Deadlock. Crawling into the dark, they're in a deadlock before they realize they are caught. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley and Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we're causing bigger riots than what you see out in Columbia University out there in New York. And we're causing more fires than a Tesla dealership.
Colombia has always had a beef with the United States government ever since the Panama Canal.
Yes.
But it is kind of weird to see Colombia. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think
New
those
York,
are spelled Colombia versus Columbia. It's,
whatever, same difference.
Right.
It's like you probably say Caribbean.
No.
Or karaoke. How do you get karaoke out of karaoke?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mispronounce words
Yeah.
all the time, but that's just my character on this show.
Right.
Okay. But come on, get real here. It's Caribbean. Okay. Yes. All right. Anyhow, Jay, the song is the Food Fighters. No, it is the Jefferson Spaceship.
No.
It is Rage Over the Machine.
No.
It is what's the one? Depends Mode.
Depends Mode. That's what they're called.
That's Biden's favorite band. Depends Mode.
That's what they go out now as 70-year-olds on tour, right? Yeah.
Keith Richards. That's what his favorite band is. I heard. What is it? I don't know.
Song is called Deadlock by a band called Barren Cross.
Okay. I would not have given me 10 million guesses.
Yeah, probably not.
I would have never.
But given our subject today, it felt like a fitting song. So,
well, I got to say this though, Jay. A lot going on. Here's what. First, I want to say one thing.
Okay.
Did you see last week where what was it, like a chip maker or something came to the White House?
Yes.
It did.
From Taiwan.
Right.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing that drives me nuts about the corporate media. Trump hosts this guy with I don't know if Howard Lutnick was there or Steve Bassett. I don't remember who was with. There was a third.
Yeah.
Might have been Lutnick because he's kind of involved in anything techie.
Yeah.
Was there with Trump. But they have this big thing. Trump stands there and answers questions just forever.
Right.
All the mainstream media is there, and you turn on the television, and there's no coverage of this.
Right.
Everybody was there. The president actually took questions, other than like the previous one who missed, it was time to get served baby food or whatever. And there's zero coverage of it.
Uh-huh.
Zero. All night long. Nothing. Yeah. Huge chip maker comes here, is going to make his product here, hire Americans to do it. Exactly what Trump said he was going to do. You can dislike him, you can disagree with him. That's fine, but let's report the truth here.
Right.
And there's no coverage of it. And if I were Trump, why? You know what? I love watching Trump answer questions.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know why the media doesn't just say, you know what? You're going to get us again. We're going to lose every time you make us look like idiots. But why stand there and answer questions if why give them that? It
shows that he's open at least, even if they're not going to print any of it.
It
or
does, but
send any of it to the show.
You know what I'd do?
What?
I'd go to a private one.
No.
I'd bring in the right-wing media, bring in the Blaze, bring in Tucker, bring in Megyn Kelly, that's what I would do it to.
Yeah.
Because some of them picked up, even some of the right-wing media didn't really pick up on this.
Right.
How big of a deal something like this
That's
could
a huge deal.
And so it's kind of like, that I know that the legacy media is hurting, but they're not going away.
Right.
And, is it worth Trump's time to spend an hour and a half? I know we kicked the AP out of, which is long overdue, out of the White House press corps.
Well, they were getting all this money from the government.
Yeah. It was a
like
Doge
they're going to be objective?
Yeah, exactly. It's a conflict of interest. But is it worth even fighting them? I mean, is it worth going on Face the Nation every weekend. I mean, Marco Rubio, who's not exactly my favorite guy. I don't hate him. I don't love him. But the guy got assaulted on one of those shows like 2 weeks ago. And it's like, why bother? What's the point?
Yeah.
Is there, and I see this a lot with Republicans in Washington, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. They still want to be like loved by that culture.
There's no love there. They just need to fess up to that, own it, and be free. I mean, it's a great feeling to be free of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I watched about 5 minutes of, I don't know if it was Meet the Depressed. Yeah, I used to watch those Sunday shows all the time. I don't have to anymore because there's other options for me. 15 years ago, there weren't. And literally, it was one of the worst panels I've ever seen. You have an anti-Trump Republican. I can't remember who that was. And then two completely biased people. The host of it is terrible.
Yeah.
Long the days of Tim Russert.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, I wouldn't go on that show if you paid me. What's
Right.
the point? Bill Maher's more Bill Maher asks better questions than the person on Meet the Press.
Oh, I bet.
And he's half sarcasm.
Yeah.
But Bill Maher's more insightful. I mean, it's like, why? I don't know. When Trump gets 50 million people to watch him on Joe Rogan, what's the point of being interviewed by some dunderhead now the Maria Bartiromo, however you say her name.
Bartiromo.
That interview was good. She's pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought that interview was good. And it's a good, Fox Business is a good place for Trump to go. But I mean, just throw your hands in the air.
Right.
It's just so frustrating. It's just, I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but at the same time, it's like, MSNBC cut and Disney just announced job cuts, and they're the ones out there tooting the horn about job cuts at the government.
Yeah.
And then somebody brings jobs here, and there's no coverage of it.
Right.
Anyhow,
it's so hypocritical. I mean, they complain about the same thing that they do when a Republican does it.
As I say, not as I do. It's the
ridiculous.
Kennedys hiding money in the Cayman Islands to avoid paying taxes on it, and complaining about the people who do that. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, this continuing resolution stuff has got me hot under the girdle.
Yeah.
Because I do not understand Republican thinking on this, and I hate calling out people like Tom Massey and Rand Paul and people like that, because I like them and respect them.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to learn to pick your fights in Washington. And this continuing resolution stuff, I know is frustrating. I hate it as much as anybody does. But we got bigger fish to fry than this, Jay.
Yes.
And I do not want another vote on this in a month. I don't want another vote on this in 2 months. I don't want to debate this for another minute. The new fiscal year starts in October, and that's what we should be focused on. And we've got to get this done and through.
Yep.
Bill ain't going to be perfect. We all know that. Okay?
Yeah.
No bill's going to get 60 votes in the Senate. That's a Tom Massey bill. That's not happening. Sorry, it's not. And I would like it if it was.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes you got to take things in increments. And we've got other stuff that I think our political capital needs to be spent on. A lot of people think that we can't pass a cloture vote, which is, I think, scheduled for Friday, I think, in the Senate. I think we're going to get there, and I'm going to explain that.
Okay.
First, I want to explain to the audience, and maybe everybody doesn't know this. Not everything in the Senate requires 60 votes, but a budget resolution does. And a tax bill doesn't. It's a little goofy. So a cloture vote is a vote to stop the debate and then vote on the bill. Okay, it was stripped out of judges as well.
Yeah.
Largely thanks to the Dems, who didn't like it when the Republicans turned it around on Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, put it right in their face. However, now there's 53 Republicans. There should be more. There's 53. Rand Paul's the only one who's announced he's not going to vote for it. I'm still not sure that he's not going to vote on the cloture part. Because you can vote, because they think this is the out for Dems is to vote for cloture and then vote against the budget.
Okay.
And I think you've got plenty of them that are already, look, Dems' hands right here are pretty weak. They really don't have any leverage. They have no message, no messenger, no united front on anything. I think it's the wrong time for them to pick a budget fight. I just get the gut feeling that if the Dems force a shutdown and then end up getting nothing for it, they're going to look 20 times as bad. At the same time, if Republicans allow a shutdown and don't play the politics right, which they never do, they're going to end up being losers in this as well. There's no incentive for either side to do this.
Right.
And I think you've got, other than Senator Fetterman, who's the only one who's already a yes vote, I think between Gene Shaheen and Mark Warner and the two Georgia Dems, who I think are in a mess of trouble.
Warnock's in a lot of
Warnock's
trouble.
Already sent out signals he's going to. Yeah. David Osmond, I think, is probably going to do that too. My guess is you got the two Dems in Arizona, the two Dems in Nevada.
Yeah.
You've got people like even Tina Smith has nothing to lose anymore because they're not running.
Yeah, but she's terrible.
She's terrible, but she's even sent out cryptic stuff already. I don't know. Senator Rogers up in Michigan isn't running again, which I think makes that seat extremely vulnerable. I don't think he was that strong anyway. I think they can get to 60.
Okay.
And I'm going to predict that they do. I'm going to be a rare. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Clearly something is. I've seen, like I said, cryptic stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Schumer is who just does nothing but toe the party line.
Yeah.
Schumer hasn't had wouldn't know a new idea if it bit him in the ass. But, I mean, Pelosi and Schumer, and I know Pelosi's de facto not in charge anymore. Yeah. They have a history of kind of saying one thing and letting their people kind of do what they have to do. You know, if you have to vote for something, we understand. You know, and I'm surprised some House Dems voted no. I think only 2 voted yes. I'm a little surprised at that, given that there are a lot of areas that a lot of Dems I think are vulnerable in 26.
Yeah.
Like I said a couple of weeks ago, 18 House Dems are in districts Trump won, and like another 20 are in districts where he got like 49% of the vote. I mean, there's trouble everywhere. But I just don't think this is the right side for time for either side. That includes our side. We have big things we want to do.
Yep.
And big things where political cabinet, it's going to take an act of Congress to abolish the Department of Education. President Trump has taken the first steps.
Yeah.
Finally, Linda McMahon has been approved, which took 6 weeks to happen. It was delayed on purpose.
Way too long.
Yeah, but I mean, she was literally delayed on purpose. I think
absolutely.
I think the executive order Trump did on Monday or last Friday was written in November. He's been waiting to have somebody to execute it. He has to have somebody to do it. And half the employees are already on leave right now. But I think to actually abolish the department and win the politics of it is going to take some political capital. I think the big tax bill, which again I still think is a mistake, but let's just play it out. It has to start in the House, which means it starts in the Budget Committee. The spending will be in the Ways and Means Committee. This is going to take weeks to happen. Be lucky to have a bill by June. We'll be lucky if it takes effect by the fall.
Yeah,
and we have to have that. We have to have that economy booming. Yeah. So the Dems have no chance next year. If they win the House in 26, they're going to spend 2 years investigating Trump, smearing J.D. Vance because they know he's the heir apparent and they don't have anybody. It's going to be 2 years of hell if we don't get these next 4 to 6 months right.
Absolutely.
And that's why it is not the right time to block this or don't give me your principal stuff. I understand it. Look, no one's more frustrated than I am, but if you want, again, you got to see the bigger picture. We're ending 2 wars, okay? Billions of dollars in less spending right there.
Yes.
We're getting rid of a department.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars in spending cuts. You got to see that picture 2 years down the road.
Already got rid of 85% of USAID and moved the rest into the State Department.
And we haven't scratched the surface of some of the other stuff yet.
Right.
Some of the more kind of stuff that's going to be harder to do.
Right.
So I think this has to just get passed, and let's just cry uncle right there, and then work on our first budget, which technically doesn't start till October 1st.
Right.
And we got to get that done. We got to get President Trump's agenda through now. It
Yes.
can't wait till next year. It can't wait 6 more months. It's because to take effect and to affect people's lives and get this economy moving again, it's moving okay, but it's still not good enough.
Right.
We have to get those tax cuts. We got to make those tax cuts permanent. We got to get the spending cuts. We got to get interest rates down.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to do that is with spending cuts. It's the only way that's really going to happen, to print less money. So we've got to get through this. And quite frankly, I don't know where the resolution stuff's been. We should have done this 2 months ago. I don't know why we have to wait till the last second, twist 3 more arms, or promise this or promise that. The House could have passed this 2 months ago. I don't know what was going on with it. I don't know why Johnson and Thune don't seem to be on the same page with this. I'm not sure why. I was surprised that I think every Republican except Tom Massey voted for it, which surprised me a little bit. I thought Johnson would have a little trouble with the Freedom Caucus, and because they only have like 6 votes to spare or something like that.
Right.
So and I think so. I don't know. I just think. What do you think? You think I'm crazy? Do you think it's wrong of me to say pass it? We'll go on to the next thing, which is not typically what I endorse.
Right.
But
typically, neither you or I.
No,
endorse
but I
that
think
approach,
I think
but-
that and again, I think if I think that the worry I have about a shutdown of any kind is losing the politics of it. We'll win on policy and lose the politics. Go back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Republicans won on policy.
Yep.
I mean, the Republicans or the Dems and Clinton caved on most of it. And that caved is the wrong word because they stopped some things. But I mean, got a balanced budget. They got welfare reform. They got a whole host of other things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they lost the political fight.
Yep.
And what I'm concerned about is shutting down the government. Maybe we do get more cuts. Maybe we do get more of what we want, but we lose the politics and we lose the bigger issues down the road, which is the tax cuts President Trump promised, plus the ones in his first term, plus the spending cuts. Those are big, big things that we're going to have to get.
Yeah.
And we can't blow our political capital arguing about a continuing resolution, especially arguing among Republicans about it.
Right.
So it's not, do I love it? No. But we got bigger and better things to do, to me.
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
No. I mean, we've got to be long-sighted here. We can't be short-sighted. And this continuing resolution is to spend no more money than we're already spending. And this is just till we get a budget. Once we get a budget, we can actually make a lot of those cuts. So right now, it's like, okay, we've already been spending this money. It's not any new money. Let's just go get this done and get a budget. Let's get the bill out there to get rid of the IRS. Let's, all of this other important
Everything's
stuff.
frozen until this continuing resolution stuff gets through. We
Right.
debate this for another month. It'll be August before we get a tax bill, which is a disaster.
Yes.
I'm
we
sorry,
Can't,
it
we
just
can't
is.
have that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I respect, I think the world of Rand Paul.
Yes.
And I
do
like
too.
Tom Massey, too. And are they right? If we're teaching a class on constitutional government, do they have the right answer? Yes. But that doesn't mean anything right now, unfortunately. I'm sorry it doesn't. But I think to do the dismantling that they want to do, it starts with getting to it. And I feel like we can't get to it until we get past this CR business.
Yeah.
And it's left over from last year. This isn't Trump's fault either. This is something that the House and Senate couldn't agree on anything last year. So they kept passing a 6-week budget.
Right.
So
it's ridiculous that we're doing things this
There was
way.
almost a shutdown in December. It almost happened then. And they passed it until March 20th or whatever it is. I think the deadline is, what is the deadline? Monday or something?
It's coming fast.
So I don't know. I mean, to me, like I said before, this should have been done. It should have been done before Trump took office.
Yes,
they could have done this as soon as the Republicans took over the Senate. They could have done this, and so I don't get it. Don't know why it didn't happen. Don't know why they've been talking about it. I don't know. All I know is we got to get past this and get to the big stuff.
Yep.
So
agreed.
And I'll tell you what, I don't know what's going to happen behind closed doors with these Dems, but I just get the gut feeling you're not hearing the rumbling from the Dems that you normally do on this. You aren't hearing the we're going to fall off a cliff stuff, and that tells me that behind the scenes political calculations are going on.
Yes.
If I shut the government down and what if they get nothing for it? I mean, the far left's going to be twice as mad as they are already. I mean, what's the thing? But is the far left who they should be pleasing right now?
No. Well, I mean, yes and no. But if they don't please the far left, A, they're super loud. B, they have a tendency toward violence. And C, I mean, that is a significant part of their voting bloc.
Yeah,
I don't think they can win without them. They don't.
It's the loudest and angriest part.
Yeah.
I just wonder if I'm up for re-election in Georgia or New Hampshire or, a state like that, and you see the country's moving center right.
Yeah.
That's an obvious thing that's happening right now. Now, will it be that way in 3 years, 5 years? I don't know. But you've got to see that there's another fight. You got to learn to live to fight another day. If every day's Armageddon, then nothing's Armageddon.
Right.
So I don't know. I get the gut feeling that their out is to vote for cloture and vote against the bill. I think that's the out for these Dems.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. And maybe I am completely wrong. I don't know. But I think the worst thing that can happen is a shutdown or another short-term resolution, because they're talking about another one for 30 days. And it's like, great. So in 30 days, we do this dance again.
Right. And nothing else gets solved.
We still need 6 Democrats or whatever it is, because JD can break a tie. So, I mean, you still need whatever. And so, I mean, what happens then? 30 days, nothing happens, and we pass it in 30 days. Well, what? That's like what happened in December. It's dumb. They're just dumb.
Yes.
They're just all stupid. Can we just say that? Why can't we just say the obvious?
Oh, it's definitely not going well.
Well,
we'll see what happens.
If you want to be an optimist about it, I mean, there's a lot of good things going on. I mean, there's way more good going on than bad, in my opinion. But this is where we talked a month or two ago about we get into when Congress has to do something, and it's I just get the gut feeling that there's Republicans already getting cold feet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the usual rumblings that you hear. It's just the usual Republicans who want to be liked. I don't know.
Right.
But,
well, I guess we'll see. We don't have very much time to find out.
No.
So they better get things moving over there. Take a vote.
Good luck. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. We'll see. We'll see in the next couple of days, but I don't know. It's definitely frustrating, but and doing this one bill is going to be It'd be an all Republican bill, which is frustrating enough.
Right.
I mean, do I want Democratic support? Sure. Do I want Democratic ideas in there? No, not really.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
But again, I mean, if we break everything down separately, I think things could pass quickly, and I think we would force Dems to take votes they don't want to take.
Right.
They don't want to vote on no taxes on Social Security. If it's in a bill with 100 other things, they can claim we're not really voting for that. We're voting against, all the stuff we don't. They can always have that out.
Right.
So that's just, kind of what I don't like about it. But we'll see, Jay. We'll see. I was wrong once.
And where was that?
I don't remember, but I know I was wrong once.
Oh, well, we'll see. Things are not quite as rosy here. I mean, it's amazing. And this ties in a little bit. When you look at the special election they just had last night in 40B, the Democrats cheated. They knew full well that their candidate did not live in the district for the general election. And he was caught, and they weren't even careful about it. And they knew, because they tried to convince him, you really do have to make sure you live in the district. But they still ran him anyways. And so everybody knows the Democrats cheated in 40B. Now they run another candidate, and the people in that district give the Democrats all their trust again, right? And the guy wins by a lot. I think it's kind of weird that they called the race before any of the precincts reported. I don't understand that. Right. That's a little odd to me.
Who called that?
The DFL did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that
it was a landslide. Nobody had reported yet, but whatever. Welcome to Minnesota. But so here we find ourselves today, again, with a tied House of Representatives. Yeah. And there's a number of bills that have been introduced by the Republican side and some by the Democrat side. Some of them that the Republicans have introduced are very good bills, but because of the way Minnesota's government is set up, even when you don't have a full complement of House members, you don't have to get a simple majority. You have to get 68 votes in order to move anything on for the Senate to take a look at. Let me throw in a scenario.
So let's just say a House member dies in a car crash tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's going to take 60 days or whatever to have a special election or whatever it takes. It's 67 to 66 again.
Yeah.
Whatever side.
Or
are you telling me that it will still take 68, even though the quorum is 100?
Well, that's the way it's been.
Would they absent themselves? Could the 66 just absent themselves again?
I suppose they could. I don't know. They're under some sort of agreement right now where everybody's showing up to work and has been, and now everything's going to be tied.
Yeah, unfortunately for all of us, they're showing up.
Yes. So we have all of these bills now that I guess we've always said to go through the motions. Even if you're not going to get a bill passed, at least submit it and show people where your values are at.
Well, what you have to do is do whatever you can to force a vote on something.
Right.
Because if there's a vote on something, that puts it on the record. And worst case scenario, you have an issue to either campaign. See, this is the thing that one of the things that Minnesota Republicans have not done for the past 20 years is had a coherent message. It's like the old pick 3 or 4 things, have a platform. What can all Minnesota Republicans do and talk about and get that message discipline? It's kind of like, you got a football team.
Yeah.
How do you get all 11 guys on one side and you shut your eyes and you see all the players doing what they're supposed to do and moving? Okay. Same thing with politics here. everything with the Republicans has been way too fragmented.
Yeah.
There is no cohesive. We talk about the Dems at the national level not having a message or a messenger. That's the Republicans here in Minnesota.
No new taxes.
There's no but no new taxes is,
Yeah, I know.
was a 2002 saying.
Yeah.
Tim Pawlenty ran on that. Okay, that's passé now.
Right.
Because we all know how the Democrats play that. Well, it's tax cuts for the rich, or it's,
Yeah.
you're not paying for it, your neighbor's going to pay for it instead. Or you get the hidden taxes that you don't always see,
Right.
We know all about those. So they've got to get these things on the record. They've got to get these issues, whether that's immigration, whether that's men and women's sports. They've got to do what Republicans nationally are doing, is pushing those 80-20 things.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what they can do, but they've got to make as much noise as possible. We all know they're going to cave in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, you got to get all the noise that you can get here. And so they've been pushing some good stuff. Some stuff I'm shocked. I don't know why I'm surprised at this. I'm surprised that the bill to get men out of women's sports got not a single Democratic vote.
Yeah, not one.
I really can't believe that. This is where I wonder about the Democratic Party. Do they honestly think, are they that beholden to the transaholics?
Yes,
that
they have their own
beholden?
caucus here in the Minnesota House.
Yeah, but it's what, 5 people?
Well, look at who it is. Leigh Finke, who's always out in the public eye. And then you have some of them that aren't always out in the public eye, but he's the one they always push out, right? He was speaking at some International Women's Day thing yesterday.
I think,
anyways, it's him. It's Brion Curran from White Bear Lake. It's who else is in there? But yeah, it's not that there's a lot of them, but they command a lot of attention. It's just like with our federal house, AOC, it's a squad who seems to be able to push the Democrats into whatever it is they want them to do.
But why doesn't the leadership go, look, we support your right to cut off body parts. We support your right to pretend that but we're getting killed on this. We're just getting killed on this. And especially with kids, I think people separate kids from adults. I think that's another thing Democrats aren't recognizing, that with adults it's one thing, with kids it's another.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the leadership just say, hey, just shut up? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Form your own party? You got no choice here. Just be quiet. We'll support, your right to do what you want, blah, blah, blah. But look, when it comes to 12-year-old boys and women's sport, we ain't supporting it. And 90% of the country disagrees with you. If I were the leadership, I'd sit them down. I'd tell them to shut up. I just don't get why. Walz never says no to the far left.
No.
He's just a total wimp. But Melissa Hortman seems to have complete control over that caucus.
Seems to.
It doesn't seem like anybody there. She's got like a Nancy Pelosi grip. And it's like, okay, because she could go, look, I'll tell you what. We're going to vote to get rid of men out of women's sports, but you can be the chair of this committee, or why don't you cut a deal? Yeah. She could primary these people if she wanted to. You go into Minneapolis, look, they control the House money.
Right.
They could say, okay, I'll tell you what, you want to make trouble for me? I'll get you a primary opponent in Minneapolis. We'll make sure you lose. We'll outfund them 10-1. So that's what I would do. I'd just say, you're killing us.
Yeah, well, they've spent the last 2 years courting people, transgender people from across the nation to move here.
Okay, but that doesn't mean they can't go time out. We went too far.
Right.
The country gave us a message that we went too far, and we're going to listen. And we don't want this issue hanging over our head next year. We don't. You know what I mean? Look, Bill Clinton would sit down and do this.
Yeah.
Somebody like that would sit down and say, da. We're not doing that.
Yeah, these people are no Bill Clinton, though.
Right. But again, Hortman has like absolute ironclad rule over these people, but she doesn't seem to know how to flex it to get smarter results.
I think she's all in.
Is she just in a world where they're just going to jam it down our throats whether we want it or not?
I don't think they want to have to answer the questions to the media.
Media doesn't ask them. They ask the Republicans. They don't ask the.
They will, though, if the Trans Caucus is holding rallies outside of the state capitol. You can bet that that's what the media is going to cover.
Yeah, but the media covered Riley Gaines to death when she came here.
Yeah,
they didn't cover the Trans Caucus as much. It was the outside people are coming to Minnesota to try to rally support. They can recruit trans people from other countries to come here to our trans refuge.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I just can't. If I were the Democratic leaders, it's like when you had the issue of, what was the issue of the police in the school? What was that again? The resource officers?
Yeah, when they took the resource officers out of the schools.
And it was like, okay, why don't the Dems go, all right, whoa.
Well, I should be clear. They did not take them out, but they a lot of them left because of the policy that was passed by the Democrats. I want to be accurate.
Do anything or something. And again, that was another opportunity for Democratic leadership to go, okay, look, we support this generally speaking, but this took it too far. We've got to have resource officers in the school. What they can and can't do has to be clearer. They got to be protected from being sued every time two kids get in an argument. It was such a simple fix.
Yeah.
And they
it
just
took forever to get it fixed. Yeah.
So I don't understand that. I just don't get that. What is the thinking?
Again, look at it at the federal level. They all walk in lockstep, except for like John Fetterman will sometimes break away from the caucus.
Right, but again, I just don't understand what the thinking is behind that. What's the thinking behind we're going to protect illegal alien criminals from being deported?
Right.
What's the thinking? Now look,
we're going to stick it to Trump. I mean, that's all I can come up with.
That's why Trump's playing it so well.
I know.
He's putting them in that position where they can't say it's the hardworking Pablo on a farm, worried ISIS. No, it's the drug lord, the gang lord. That's what he's targeting right now. But in actuality, you have to do it that way. If you don't close the border and get rid of the criminals, how do you deal with the people who are already here? You can't do it comprehensively. It's impossible. But it's also being done on purpose to put Dems in this position. But again, go along with it. Why do you want gangs in your city? I know. I don't understand that.
They're cutting off their nose to spite their face, and it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Okay, but what could they be thinking, Jay? Let's just try to think. Do they just think Trump will fail? Do they just think that the Republicans will implode? Are they just going to sit back and, I hate to say this, pull a James Carville and say, well, just sit back. We don't have no message, so we might as well just sit back and hope they fail. And actually, I think that maybe is their smartest move. I think their smarter move is to pick these 80-20 issues and move toward the right on them.
Yeah.
Take those issues away from the right, and you're only moderating. Pick 5 issues to moderate. You can be wacky on everything else. But, deporting illegal alien criminals, you're going to stand for them?
Yeah. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And what's going to happen when Minneapolis, Hennepin County, Ramsey, these places lose their federal funding? What's going to happen? It's going to happen.
It will. So
what are they going to do then?
You tell me.
But it just, I can't understand it. I can't understand what they're thinking. And you just wonder, the only thing I can think of if I had to have an answer is that what they're thinking is they passed every left-wing loony thing they could.
Yeah.
Actually, they didn't.
They didn't get everything through, but they got
80% of it. And they really didn't pay a huge price at the ballot box.
No.
And maybe they're thinking, state's just going to vote Democratic. There's a D there. We'll be okay.
Yeah, I hope that's not where we are as a state. I hope that we realize the danger that we're in if we allow that to happen again, where they have control of everything like that. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see the pendulum swing back and some good reforms happen, but I will take as a consolation at least having enough of it to screw everything up so that nothing gets passed ever.
Well, here comes my question. If you're 67 to 67, somebody has to switch sides to get something to be passed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the budget, they'll work a backroom omnibus bill. But everything else, I mean,
yeah.
I don't even understand. Who's chairing the committees?
Well, they split all that up in the power sharing agreement. And so while Lisa DeMuth became the speaker, the committees, and I think there's some changes that happen now that the election's done as well, because things are tied again. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, when you look at it, everything's going to be split. Nothing's even going to get out of committee. You have things that were submitted. There were a couple of anti-fraud bills that one passed and one didn't pass. And it's kind of strange, again, who's against fraud? Who's against waste? That's
more people than
crazy.
You think.
Yeah, the first bill, HF3. So we're sitting here in March, and they're looking at HF3.
All right, that's the pace I like.
We're going after one a month here, apparently.
Woo! I like that.
It would require the Office of the Legislative Auditor,
who's useless, worthless,
to write an annual report which documents how effectively state government agencies implement recommendations from the Office of the Legislative Auditor. Jim Nash from Waconia wrote that.
You know Jim?
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess
seems kind of harmless.
Provides greater information.
You're basically asking the auditor to perform an audit.
Right.
Do their job.
That. Yeah.
Do your job.
That. And then the second bill, HF 23, would prevent state and local government from retaliating against public employees who report suspected waste, fraud, and abuse in good faith. Kristen Robbins, Republican from Maple Grove.
Yep, that's my district. She's not my side. She's the other rep. But yeah.
So that expands Minnesota's whistleblower protection statute. So
basically, what the bill is saying is if an employee says, "Hey, there's money missing," I'm sure waste, fraud, and abuse has a definition.
Yeah.
And they go tell their superior, they can't be retaliated against.
Right.
Exactly. I thought Dems supported whistleblowers.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Julian Assange changed a lot of that.
Yeah, he probably did.
Seriously, I think ever since him, they just don't like whistleblowers.
It's funny. So Zach Stevenson, who's DFL from Coon Rapids, said that HF3 was not the worst idea in the world. That was his comments on that,
Oh.
on letting them do more auditing. And so he recommended a no vote, and it looks like, it ultimately HF3 did not pass. 67 Republicans to 66 DFLers. Go figure. Just really, that's that partisan an issue, that it's right down party lines as to whether you're going to do more auditing or not?
I'll tell you what, that auditor's office, too, has been worthless ever since Rebecca Otto was there.
Yeah.
When I don't know if she defeated Pat Anderson. I don't remember what the.
I think Pat Anderson didn't run because she ran for a different office.
It might have been. Of anything that she's done, nothing. Literally nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, if I walked somewhere and asked who the state auditor was, I'd get a blank look.
Right.
Yeah, Rebecca Otto, 3 terms she served, and I have absolutely no idea what she did as state auditor. Couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either. Oh, boy. Yeah. The bill that expanded whistleblower protections did pass 133-0. So that's a little surprising.
God, what?
Yeah. So.
Huh.
Yeah, that's actually something that I guess they want to do. So that's good.
Well, now let's see some teeth behind it.
Right.
I mean, that's the one thing that worries me.
Well, and I think the Democrats on this one issue do see the writing on the wall that they probably shouldn't have worked with a lot of these false charities and should have done a little more homework. And they're
the feeding of futures fall out too.
Yeah,
which would destroy the party if they were the Republicans.
Right.
But if it's the Dems, it kind of doesn't really get. Even though the Dems were all up to their shoulders in this, it doesn't go down on them the way it would on Republicans if the situation was reversed.
Right.
So, well, I'll tell you what. I mean, one of the things I think that really needs to happen is curriculum reform, and that's something that the state has. The Department of Education is, to me, we got to have reverse a lot of this DEI stuff, and unfortunately, without the executive branch, this is going to be tough. But when it comes to curriculum in schools, Jay, I don't know the answer to this, but does the Department of Education control a lot of that, or does the legislature control a lot of that? I mean, the legislature controls the money, but are they making graduation standards? And
I don't know that they're making graduation standards. I believe, though, that for teacher licensure, that they were behind changing the licensure qualifications so that they had to agree with and agree to teach woke concepts in order to get a teacher's license. Now, that, as of yet, has not been revoked to my knowledge. That is something that is still out there and is going to be a big problem.
So it's basically like a loyalty oath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a Stalinist.
Yeah, if you don't agree with our
I wonder why we can't recruit young people
dogma.
to teach.
Yeah. 'Cause that's really what it is at this point. It's a new religion. It's their dogma. You will agree to these things, or you're not going to be welcome to teach in the state of Minnesota.
Well, here's the other. The other part is we're facing a budget deficit again, after a record surplus. Actually, I don't like calling it a surplus. I like calling it's overtaxation. That's what I like to call it. We tax too much. So with that, how do you think that as I don't even understand with the split. How do you understand how the budget committee, the tax committee? I don't really understand how that works. What are we looking at as far as even getting to one?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, again, we're probably looking at 2 years of he said, she said, or he said,
right,
and blaming each other for nothing happening, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But there's a huge deficit predicted like 5 years from now, because in 2023, we relied on one-time federal spending. We relied on, we put ridiculous spending increases in, almost 40%, which is unsustainable in any way, shape, or form. So they all think they're that entitled to that forever.
Yeah.
So how does that even get resolved? How does it even get walked back?
I don't know. I mean, and that's another thing where the Democrats are just out of control, is spending in this state. I mean, you look at the surplus that we had, and now we're looking at, what, a $6 billion deficit?
We're looking at that in fiscal year 2 bienniums from now.
Yeah.
But that's because of the projected, we put ourselves on a new plane when it came to projected spending.
Right.
And now they're going to call all that cuts, when we all know that that's, that that's nonsense. It's just cuts in the rate of growth. But how does that, where do you even start to result? How much more can you tax us here in Minnesota? I mean, really, where are you going to go? If you're the Dems and you want to go get more tax money, where the hell are you going?
You still got a couple bucks in that wallet of yours.
From who? From where?
Don't know, but
I mean, you can't raise excess taxes anymore because they know that hits lower and middle income people.
Yeah.
Property taxes are killing people because interest rates are high, and they keep either mandating things on local governments and then not funding them, or local governments are out of control with their spending. So I mean, where does this more tax money going to come from?
Well, they will.
Ain't that many billionaires in Minnesota?
No.
There's like 6.
Yeah.
How many of them? If one leaves, the budget deficit goes up $100 million.
Well, you know how they do it, though. It's like, we're going to go after billionaires. We're going to go after billionaires. We're going to go after billionaires. And then they raise the fee on licenses and tabs, or the wheelage tax, or they don't care. I mean, they figure they can get another dollar or two. Particularly slick by the legislature.
Yeah. Because what they do is they tell the counties, hey, we're going to stop funding this and that. Go get your own money.
Yeah.
Then the counties are forced to deal with it. And they either have to make cuts, of course they don't want to.
Right.
Or they have to figure out a way to get it. It's the legislature claiming they did. Oh, your county did, but the legislature's the reason for it.
Right.
That's a slick way to do it. It's the same thing you're seeing with these local things that are putting a sales tax on something.
Yes.
Or something like that. So.
But yet you have all these Democrats. They say we got to go after billionaires, and they always say of the Republicans, they're giving handouts to their billionaire buddies. But everybody knows that billionaires don't pay income tax.
Yeah.
It's capital gains. And so
billionaires have the means to. That's when they get a what do you call it, a charity, or a
right.
What do you call them? Foundation. Foundation's tax shelter. They put their wife in charge of it, put their kids in charge of it, give them all salary. It's all their money.
Yeah,
they don't have to pay taxes on it. They're not going to pay it. They never pay it. Does anybody think Bill Gates is paying a 39.7% income tax? No way. Why do you think he's in farming? Because we're funding it with subsidies. He runs it as an absentee landowner. So I mean, it's they find ways to get around. I don't look again. Rhetoric's not going to get it all, though. I mean, at some point, you get to a point though where these sales taxes, these gas taxes, they really can't go up anymore. How many times can you raise a license tab fee? Before I mean, those are things people notice, especially a license tab. When you pay it once a year, when it goes up $75, well, you pay attention. Let me tell you, you do.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when it went down years ago, when it went way down. I don't remember if Ventura or Palenti were the governors, but I remember when it went way down, that was noticeable.
Yeah.
And all they've done is just trickle it right back up. You go get a fishing license, and it's twice as much as it was 5 years ago.
Yep.
People notice that stuff.
But does it cause them to vote differently?
I don't know because, well, no, because I think that a lot of the people who are fishing and hunting are not, they're probably voting a certain way already.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, they're,
yeah.
It's kind of like picking on smokers. You're taking a minority of the population and you're picking on them to, you're a Somali sitting in Minneapolis. I'm guessing you're not getting a deer hunting license. Just throwing that out there. Probably. Yeah. I've never seen one up in by where I've hunted before, but just saying, you're taking a percentage of the population and you're picking on them. Or you raise the tax so small, like if you raise the gas tax 1 cent,
right?
I'm not sure anybody would connect the two, especially when gas goes up and down so much.
Right. And you can't really see how that's divided. Like when the gas tax rate goes up, you really can't see that.
No, and
it's not itemized.
Hey, you know what? There's a great law. You know how they put the law in about, you and I debated this about places like StubHub having to put fees on.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great thing, is require that every gas station pump have a breakdown of where that money's going.
Yeah.
Literally have a breakdown. Because I don't want to hear this oil company stuff.
Yeah.
I own stock in British Petroleum. I probably shouldn't say that out loud. But I know that they aren't making off a gallon of gas what the perception is out there.
Yeah.
The gas station's making like 10 cents a gallon on it.
Right.
They're not making much money.
No.
And I'd love to see that breakdown. You force that breakdown to be there every single time and make it. And I want it to change with the price too.
Yeah.
It goes down 20 cents. I want to see, because if it goes down, the government ain't taking the cut.
No.
They don't take the cut. They get it no matter what the price is.
Absolutely, they do.
It's like Bill Cosby said in that episode with Theo and the Monopoly. The government comes after the regular people first. I always remember that when he was handing out the Monopoly money. But yeah, I get back to the Republican message a little bit here, and I'm going to say these things out loud because they're not going to listen to me. So I'm just going to say them out loud. Like I said before, everything you've done for the last 20 years, throw in the garbage.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. It ain't worked. So whether that's, and I'll tell you what, I think campaigning against the Minnesota swamp is a huge issue too, because you could lump anything in there. Anything. Bureaucrats, Met Council, the departments in St. Paul. It's St. Paul against the state. You could totally come up with a message like that.
Absolutely.
You don't need to be specific about it either. When the government raises, here's one of my favorite things that politicians always fall for this trap. Well, if you're going to cut spending, you got to tell me where. Well, if you're going to raise my taxes, you ask me where I'm getting the money?
Yeah.
No, so I'm not telling you where the money's going to come from. I don't have to. It's just going to go. That's just it. Zero-based budgeting. We're going to do the important stuff first, the constitutional stuff first.
Yeah.
And everything after that is after that.
Right.
And if it's zero, it's zero. There's
Absolutely.
your answer. And then I'll tell you what, I mean, a big part of what I want to do too is legalize all gambling, Jay. And I know that creates kind of a opposition from everybody for certain things.
Yeah.
But I keep saying this. This is what I keep saying. I was just listening to the radio yesterday, and I heard 3 different commercials telling me to play the Minnesota lottery.
Yeah.
So the government takes my tax dollars, runs commercials advertising to me, encouraging me to gamble.
Yeah.
Which is a regressive tax, you could argue. A voluntary one. So if they do that, why is it then that I'm a criminal if I bet $50 on something else?
Yeah. That's a great question.
I never get a straight answer to that.
Yeah.
Now, when I say legalizing all gambling, I'm being a little bit facetious here. But,
Right.
I mean, we got to start thinking long term about how we're going to fix this. And gambling is an issue that, God, just 80% of the state supports.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe when you get the specifics, maybe it's less. And I know there's some people who, I don't want to say morally oppose it, but I respect that. But you know what? The law has nothing to do with morality. Maybe it should, but it don't.
Every law is somebody's morality.
It is, but it ain't. I mean, come on. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's somebody's morality, but to me, your freedom trumps that. In other words...
Right. You have to give people the room to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. I mean, you want to talk about pissing away money gambling? Well, I could piss away my money at anything.
Yeah.
You could go lose money in the stock market. That's a gamble.
Sure.
I mean, it's educated gambling sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know people who couldn't tell you what's in their 401k. Couldn't tell you. It's like, okay, well, it's kind of important to do a little 20 minutes of research, don't you think?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could piss away a lot more money doing other things. I don't know. I just think that's an issue I wish that freedom fighters would take up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it's how that and the bicycle sales tax. Remember, I always talked the BST.
Yes.
Remember that? I listened to that podcast not too long ago. Yeah, the bicycle sales tax. That's the other thing that's going to pay for everything for me is the BST.
Yes. Oh boy.
But where does this budget even? How do you even get a budget if it's going to be 67 to 67?
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody has to flinch.
Somebody will have to flinch, and it's usually the Republicans, I'm sorry to say.
Well,
but
it has to get through the Senate, so
yeah.
the Dems do have a bit of an advantage there.
Yeah.
The Republicans can force some concessions and force some things out of it, I'm sure. I'm sure the Dems will present a ridiculous budget that they know has no chance, and then that will start the back and forth, which should have started 2 months ago, by the way.
Right.
Why they're not talking about it now, I don't know. Of course, it will go all the way to the last second. I'll be fishing and not caring when it goes through, But I just, I don't even know how how do you even run a committee if it's 7 to 7 on the committee? What the hell do you do then?
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, so we're looking at gridlock. I mean, when it comes to
gridlock,
all of this stuff.
Who is that guy? Gridlock.
What?
Perot's running mate.
Oh,
we got gridlock.
Yeah.
Stockton.
Dale Stockton, right?
No.
Was Dale? No.
Admiral.
Stockdale. Stockdale. I knew there was a Dale in there somewhere.
No, John Stockton played for the Utah Jazz.
Well, yes, John Stockton. Yes, I know that.
I don't remember
Carl Malone.
I don't remember his first name. Stockdale. That was. I just remember Phil Hartman doing him on Gridlock.
Oh boy! So here's another one. The Dems actually got in the fray here and proposed a constitutional amendment.
Gridlock.
It would allow 16-year-olds to vote in local elections.
I don't even want 18-year-olds to vote in local elections.
No. Oh, that's just
if we're
terrible.
going to have a minimum age, you think at some point we need like a maximum age?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, if you're, let me just throw this out there. If you're 95 and you barely know your name and you're in a nursing home or you're Joe Biden, should you be voting?
I think if you have your wits about you, it doesn't matter how old you are.
True.
If you have dementia, yeah, you probably shouldn't be voting.
But again, who's the arbiter of what's...
Yeah.
But, there are limits on... I was looking up because there's been, with Biden, obviously there's talk about a very little chatter about a maximum age to be president. Should there be a maximum age to be a Supreme Court justice? Should there be a maximum age? And, okay, Biden's 82, and Trump's what, 77? Okay, But here's my Trump. I would believe is 50. But here's my thing with that. I looked up: is it constitutional to create a maximum age?
Yeah,
and there are jobs that have it.
Really,
firefighters have a max age. Surgeons in some states, you have to pass a test. Once you hit a certain age, that you can keep performing surgery. Pilots have a maximum age of like 60. They have a mandatory retirement age. Firefighters do too. I think you have to pass a physical every year after a certain age to be able to continue to be a firefighter, which makes some sense. I mean, look, you're running in ladders and burning buildings. I mean, rescuing people. It's there's a handful of other jobs that do have a max age or a physical requirement. Over-the-road truck drivers have to pass a physical, hearing and vision tests. So there are jobs that do hold that some sort of requirement for that. So maybe they aren't unconstitutional. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't been challenged. I assume they've been challenged in the courts or, unions like pilots. I think they have a union. They must have agreed to it.
I would assume so.
So at the bargaining. So, I mean, but there are careers that have that.
Huh.
I just say if your last name's Biden, there should be a rule or a law. That's what I think.
Yeah, probably true. Even if you're Hunter Biden, I don't think you would want to employ him. So
here's the thing. I'm going to say this with a little bit of sarcasm and a little bit of truth. I would have rather Hunter have been president than Joe.
Wow. Every day to have been a party at the White House.
At least the president knew what day it was.
Yeah, well, maybe. Being in a drug-induced stupor, you might not.
Well, Biden was in a comatose state. I don't know what's worse.
I don't know either.
Did you hear about his auto signature controversy?
Yes,
now?
I did.
What's with that?
I don't know. That's very interesting. They think that the pardons that he signed might have all been done by AutoPen, which brings in.
They had to have been. He was at Trump's inauguration when they were announced. Did they delay the announcement?
Yes.
I heard. Oh, okay. That's not what I heard.
Oh, really?
I heard as of like 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, our time.
Yeah.
So that'd be an hour ahead in Washington.
Right.
They still had not been issued.
Really?
Then all of a sudden, Biden showed up at the inauguration about an hour before. Before the actual oath happened, and it didn't come out until after Trump spoke, after the speech in the rotunda that he gave with JD. Then the story broke, but there was conflicting as to when it was actually done.
Yeah.
In some outlets, it was done at 11:50. Well, wait a minute, Biden was sitting in the inauguration at that time,
right? And
of course, nobody in mainstream media picked up on it or cared. But I don't know. I don't know if they were held, and I don't even know who released them because he wasn't president anymore when it came out at like 6 p.m. So how could it have come out later if he wasn't there anymore?
Yeah, well, I guess I had thought they just held the story, held the,
that would make sense, but
held the bill.
Still, I don't know how you can release the news of a pardon 7 or 8 hours after somebody has left the White House. Wouldn't it be public at 11:59 no matter what they did?
Yeah, you would think so.
It doesn't. That makes no sense to me either. All right, back to state stuff.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's, I don't know. It's crazy. So there's a number of bills that I know the Republicans are trying to get forward. It doesn't look like any of them are going to go much of anywhere because they're going to have to pass committee, and all the committees are probably tied up now, and it certainly won't get past the House floor. Lisa DeMuth can bring forth anything she wants to, but it's got to pass, and it at 67. When you have a House that is voting 100% party line, and there's nobody that goes back and forth, I don't see how you get anything done.
Ouch. Just ouch.
Yeah. You're going to have to peel one person off from the other party in order to get 68, and it's just not going to happen.
Well, okay, so play this out. What can they make a deal on? I mean, you either have to. You can't bring up a bonding bill because that's separate. That's where you wield it, but that's where you need 60%. So you'd have to see. This is where we need to have a supermajority for stuff.
Yeah.
Even though that can be bad too, but supermajority would force them to do it.
Yeah.
You'd have no choice but to give and take.
Yeah.
You couldn't just wind the clock out to the last minute and do this grandstanding stuff. You'd be at the table negotiating right now. Right now you'd be doing it.
Yeah.
So
if you want to get anything done.
Yeah, it's just a total joke. Now, again, I've said before, if they huff and puff and do nothing, I'm all right with that. Even though it looks bad, I'm still all right with it. And again, I go back to this, Jay. Unicameral legislature, I go back to we need less legislators. 134 House members?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just way too many. That's just too many. And let's have an odd number. Somehow we need an odd number.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know who came up with having an even number.
Well, if you're going to have 2 reps from every district, you're going to get an even number no matter what.
Yeah.
You have a unicameral legislature.
That's where, or I hate to say it in this instance, but you have the tie-breaking vote be the lieutenant governor.
Like the Senate.
Yeah. Or something, but not that anybody wants to hear from Peggy Flanagan. But
no one wants to hear or see her.
Just wait.
Well, what's the news now? Who else jumped in that Senate race?
What's her name that flipped her car over while she was drunk driving?
Well, the one that got screwed out of Ron Lance's seat, right? Because their district got smudged.
Yeah.
Franzen.
Yes.
She's got a hyphenated name.
Yes.
Larry Franzen or something.
Larry, yeah.
What is it? Whatever it is.
You're thinking of Mary Franzen, who's not this person.
No, she's way gooder.
Yes.
She's up in Alexandria, I think. But
yeah.
Well, I don't remember her first name. Doesn't matter. So let's go back to her. I don't know what kind of chance she has, but do we still think everybody else gets in that we talked about?
Well,
Ellison get in? Does Crazy Eyes get in?
Yeah. I think people are hanging back a little bit to wait and see what Governor Walz does.
Goofball?
But yeah,
I can't see him running for the Senate with Flanagan there. Although I don't.
No, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's already signaled he won't. But
I don't think they like each other that much.
Whether he's going to run for governor again or
not.
hold off and run for president. Yeah.
This is the Democratic Party. The worse
Right.
you are, the more further you go.
Right.
My favorite poll ever, Stephen A. Smith ahead of Jim Walz. That was just great. I don't know. I still bet that he won't run again. I just get the gut feeling he's not going to. Especially if the political landscape. I think, like I said before, I don't know what he's waiting for. That makes me scratch my head. Because, you got to get the ball rolling on this stuff, and if other people are going to run, they need. You know what I think it would take? It would take a prominent Democrat to announce they're going to run against him.
Yeah,
that might either motivate him to stay or motivate him to go. One of the two.
Yeah, and I don't know who does Minnesota have for prominent Democrats. I guess.
Well, in their minds. Yeah. Keith Ellison would be one.
Yeah.
Angie Craig would be another.
Yeah.
I think I still throw out the name Dean Phillips. I think Phillips could win a statewide race for sure. Not saying he will, but I think he could. I don't know.
Klobuchar, who I don't think would give up her Senate seat, but
no.
Although she did try to run for president.
Yeah, she wouldn't have to give up her Senate seat. I think she thinks she can do whatever she wants in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's an arrogant attitude I would not want to have. I don't know who else, but, probably just the usual names we hear from.
Yeah.
So, does Ilhan Omar get in?
Yeah.
I think she'll have a tough time, though. I think she'll have a tough time in a primary. I really do.
I don't know. Leigh Finke might think about it because he thinks he could get a lot more done probably for the trans community. So
that'd be great. I'd love to run against he/she.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd address he/she. You know what? I probably wouldn't do that just to not make he or she the victim.
Right.
Not to play the victim card.
Right.
Let me ask you another thing up here about here in Minnesota. Do you think the obviously the Dems can't really pass some of the other things that they wanted to previously?
Yeah.
But do you think they all come off the table in a budget negotiation? Because they're going to try to get what they didn't get through last time through.
Right.
Do you think anything gets through this time? Do the Republicans let anything go through?
I wish I could say I trusted them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because again, the Republicans are going to lose the optics of a shutdown.
Yeah.
They always lose it. I don't know why they can't win that.
Yeah.
But do they make the calculation that they're going to give up something to avoid a shutdown, and that something could be really bad?
I don't know if they do anything really bad.
What do they give up as far as like education reform, DEI stuff?
Yeah.
Their own version of Doge or fraud or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, because they've talked about that got voted down too.
Yes, it did.
So what do they give up? I mean, because I'm concerned that once again there'll be a backroom deal in May. We'll find out about it in August.
Yeah.
And nobody will like anything in it. And we're going to find out that something pretty bad somehow slipped through.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that chance. I think if there's sunlight on it, there's very little chance something really bad will get through. I think if it's
just
done
worry about
in
this
the darkness,
last minute, yeah,
that's always a possibility.
Do we get any tax cut of any kind?
No,
nothing.
No. Holding the line on taxes will be seen.
No taxes on Social Security. We're still one of the few states that still taxes that?
Yep. absolutely. You'd think seniors in this state would be so angry that they'd never vote Democrat.
The ones who care about it are living in Florida now.
Well, that's true. There's truth to that.
They've moved.
They live down there 6 months in a day so that they can...
Or they live in South Dakota 6 months in a day.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are pissed off about that have left.
Yeah.
That's really the truth on it. So...
Yeah. Well, enjoy all that. That's...
yeah.
Yeah.
More rumblings on Twitter that Michelle Tafoya is seriously considering a Senate run. What do you think?
That.
What's your gut tell you?
She seems to be positioning herself for that. That would not surprise me.
That has been a stumbling block for Minnesota candidates for a while now.
Yeah.
I don't know the last one to get significant outside money, maybe Pawlenty. But it's a huge, huge stumbling block. And if she can get outside money in an open seat, that could really be significant.
Yeah.
But I think if she's the candidate, she wins. She's the Republican.
So
she's the candidate.
Yeah.
If she gets in, I mean that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I was skeptical of that like 2 months ago. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not as skeptical anymore.
It's looking because she's speaking out like frequently on political issues,
but she's also being very smart in what she's talking about.
Right.
It's one of those things where that's why I say I think she's getting in because it's more precise, it's more calculated, it's more, it's like a non-denial denial of somebody who's getting in a race and they haven't said so.
Right.
So I think it would really put a spotlight on that race nationally.
Yes.
Which is huge. So we're setting up a Tafoya Flanagan race at this point?
Yep.
Is that what it would be?
Yep. Tafoya flannel graph.
I mean, depending on who else gets in. I think it's everybody talks about the people other getting in. I think it's a tough one for Angie Craig.
Yeah.
Giving up her House seat. That's a tough district already.
Right.
I think it's a tough one for Ellison too. I think he'd have to know that nomination is his.
Right.
To give that up, to give up Attorney General or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And for Angie Craig and the Democrat Party, I mean, Congressional District 2 isn't solidly Democrat.
No, it's like a 53-47 district. And if it's an open seat, that probably tilts that, back more toward the middle. There.
Yeah.
And Trump outperformed whoever the rep candidate was last time.
Right.
So I think outperformed by about 4 points. So there are the Republican votes there.
Yes.
Are still pretty much there. So that's an interesting one. I don't know where that ends up. But God, I'd love to go. Man, that'd be a real chance to win that Senate seat. Which we haven't had in quite a long time.
Yeah. It hasn't been in Republican hands since Coleman.
That's right. And before that, you got to go back to Rod Graham's?
Yeah.
You got to go back to him?
I think so, yeah. I think Rod Graham's.
Gee, I was going to say Durenberger for a minute there. Actually, I think that's that seat, actually.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Is that Durenberger's
it was
seat?
Durenberger, then Graham's won, then Dayton beat Graham's, and then Klobuchar took that seat.
Yeah.
Then the other seat is the Franken seat that Coleman had.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, because the appointment.
I think so.
Yeah. Because Franken had to quit.
Or
Tina Smith.
Yeah.
Was appointed.
Coleman, Franken, and then Tina Smith.
Yeah.
Because,
That's that seat. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, so it is the Coleman seat.
Well, I'm going to still stick with my prediction that it will be Tafoya, and then I still say Pete Stauber gets in and runs for governor.
Really?
Yeah, I think that I think he could win.
Yeah,
the one thing I want to do is you're going to give up your House seat for life. Republicans are in charge right now.
Right.
It's kind of like Emmer. He's got a leadership position. I mean, I don't think Tom would run statewide again anyway, but
no.
I mean, how about Michelle Fischbach? What's her future?
I don't know. I don't know that she's well known enough yet.
7 has gone so Republican.
Right. I think Pete Stauber is a little higher profile than Fischbach is.
Getting back to the legislature. Yeah. So what's your prediction for a shutdown? How long do we have in May or June or actually it wouldn't be till July till there'd be a shutdown.
Right. They'll have a special session. They'll get it worked out somehow.
Boo.
Republicans will cave on something and it'll get through at the 11th hour. 59 seconds.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. I'm not too cynical, though, so that's good.
You're not too cynical. It's just, when we talk about bills in the legislature, I still come back to, I don't understand how they get out of committee and get on the floor. I still don't get that. And what does the Senate take up? I mean, is the Senate as in lockstep as the House seems to be? Does it seem to be? I don't even know who the Senate leaders are, but does it seem to be?
Erin Murphy is the Democrat in charge of the Senate right now, the Senate Majority Leader.
Hortman-like, does she have all the testicles in the lockbox? I mean,
she's pretty in control of the Senate. Okay. You don't hear of too many senators wandering off the reservation and to vote for a Republican thing. Is it that we just have so many red and blue areas right now that these people just have no fear of being chastised by the voters? I don't know. I mean, there are some purple areas in the state. Out of the 134 House districts, what do you think there are? 25? 20? Yeah, maybe. That are purple? Yeah. There's probably... Some of them are right around the cities, and then you have some that are up, around like Bemidji or whatever. You got them in 7 and 8. You got them in 6. You've got them in 2 for sure. You certainly have them in 1. Although, again, 1 is so much of Mankato, Rochester, and then the rest is red. Right. And Mankato moved really far in the conservative direction. They moved a lot this last time. Brad Finstad moved a lot. Got a way higher percent this time than 2 years ago. Yeah. And 1 is moving back into the red as it had gone blue before. Tim Walz was lying about what his real beliefs were, which was part of it. Yeah. So, it has changed a bit. I just still wonder how many purple districts are really there or not. And, so many people are more worried about a primary than they are about a general, and then they have no incentive to work with the other side. And oh, goodness. That's just a problem, right? Painting such a rosy picture, Andrew. Well, again, this is where I come back to, if we had fewer districts that covered more ground, you wouldn't have all this red and blue stuff. If you had, say you had 75 districts in a unicameral legislature, it would completely change things. You couldn't divide it up in these little cookie cutter spots the way you do now. Right. So it would be a lot more challenging, and you could argue it would be you could argue that by having more, you're closer to your rep in some ways, but I actually think that it's kind of the opposite. I kind of feel like I want to be closer to my county
commissioner shouldn't have 3 rep districts in there.
Right.
And where I live, I mean, I'm in 7, and there's like 6 House districts in 7. So why does my county guy have 10 legislators?
Yeah.
You know? So I think
don't know.
It kind of works the opposite. It's like, okay, it should go city, school district, county, state. And it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You know, in fact, I think there's 2 different congressional districts in there. I think it's 3 and it's part of, oh no, it isn't 6, is it?
Yeah.
Because you get up to Anoka, that's a different county. You get out to like Buffalo, and that's Wright County.
Yeah.
So maybe it all is in 3.
Okay.
It could be for me.
Oh, it might be now. I think it used to be split, but I think that changed after 2020.
Yeah, you might be right about that. So I think it all is in CD3 now.
Yeah, because I know CD3 goes into like Brooklyn Park and stuff now. So
it's, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Dayton, Maple Grove, where I am. And then 3 goes down. Like
right.
Minnetonka,
Plymouth and
Wayzata, down to like Eden Prairie almost, I think.
Yeah.
It's a weird
kind of
district.
wraps around the
Looks
west
like
side of the cities.
It's like a candy cane.
Yeah.
That's how it looks. So we got the yuppie part of those areas.
Awesome.
But yeah, just love it. Just wonderful. There was a time when Jim Ramstad was there. He got 65% of the vote. The districts changed.
Yeah, a little
bit, unfortunately. But so you look at this legislative picture, and the Republicans, though, even though it's still a little bleak, Jay, like you said, they have a job to do.
Yeah.
And that's get the Democrats on record. And this is another thing that the outside groups have to do, is find ways to put all that stuff in flyers and on websites. Name those names.
Yeah.
Who are voting against this stuff. This has to get out there, and I feel like it's not out there.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, and it's hard when you don't have a lot of journalists on the conservative side that are putting that stuff out there.
We got to do it.
We got to do it.
It's us. It's Alpha News. It's a handful of other people.
Yeah.
Handful of podcasters.
Yep.
That's all we got.
That's all we got.
That's the sad part. I mean, that's really the sad part.
Yeah. Don't ever count on Star Trib or Duluth News and Tribune or...
You're not telling anybody anything they don't know there. But
yeah.
All right, Jay. It's time for my Lifetime movie. Women or Knives with Wives Club. That's what I'm watching.
Yeah. Wow.
Wives with Knives. Styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jay, why don't you enlighten us? Because it's been so rosy. We've had such a rosy podcast. Kind of our first negative one since January 20th.
Yeah, kind of.
Not on Trump, but just on...
our state.
Not on him, but on just him in Congress a little bit. So
yeah. Well,
give me
you got to be a little bit of a realist. President Trump is doing some great things. He is full steam ahead. He's had this plan. He's working his plan. He's having to fight Congress a little bit. That's that's natural. That's okay. You want separation of powers, but when you have all of the branches of government, you should be able to get things done. And the whims of the next president that comes in, or the one after that, I don't know. We got to shore things up. And we have to shore things up here in Minnesota. We look at all of the stuff that we hated 2 years ago, and we hated it enough that we at least even the playing field in the legislature. But I don't know if we have the gumption to be able to put it all into effect for the next election and take that stuff back where we can make some positive changes. I mean, we're set where we could get rid of Tim Walz and have a conservative in that governor's mansion. We could take over the Senate. We could take over the House, and we can roll back some of these really harmful policies that they put in over the last 2 to 4 years. It's ours to lose, I think, if we play the game the right way. But that's a big ask too, to be able to put together good campaigns, to have the right message, to be able to get the word out, because you are fighting the Star Tribune. You are fighting KARE 11 and Fox 9 and all of these other local stations across the state. But it's not impossible. We just have to be able to take a stand and say enough is enough. We are going to make sure that we get out and vote, and we're going to bring people with us, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire once they're elected. Because that's really it. It's about getting the right people elected, but then you got to put the pressure on. And it's sad that you have to do that, but you have to do that. Because you have people that drag their feet, people that don't want to cause waves, people that are there to do good in a lot of cases. But then when it comes time to do that good, slow down a little bit. No, we need to move swiftly. We need to move with confidence and assurance that the measures that we're taking are the right ones. Well, one thing that we can do, obviously, is run for office, whether that's at the city or township level, school level, county level, state level, whatever. Another thing that we need to do is start telling the story. Like Andrew just said, it's up to Alpha News, us, handful of other podcasters, and we have to raise more of us up to tell the story. There are people that are in every county, every city, that are able to type out what happens at a city council meeting, what our county commissioners vote on, what the school district is doing, what's happening in St. Paul, going and getting press credentials and going to a press conference and writing about it. These are all things that more of us can do to tell this story, to be able to make sure that we overwhelm the system with enough positive, truthful reporting that Minnesotans start to actually hear the truth about what's going on here. But that's up to you. Is that something that you think you can do? Is that something that you want to do? Or are you just content to watch prices go up, taxes go up, restrictions get heavier, the things that are becoming less stringent are things that we would never allow if we were the ones making the decisions, but yet we vote the same people into office term after term after term after term. To make a change, we've got to sacrifice and we've got to carry the load. At least for a while, we have to be vigilant and we have to be watchful. We can do this, but it's going to take you coming into partnership with us as we come into partnership with our government to hold them accountable and get this done. Just get a hold of us, commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. We've got a plan. We've got ideas. Now we just need you. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work.
Feel driven to push on.